next speaker. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Jaime Bryson.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's an absolute honour to be here tonight with unionists and loyalists of Castlederg as we once again stand together as a union of unionists standing in opposition to the continued imposition of the union subjugating protocol, which, make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, is designed to put us under the jackboot of the European Union and the Irish government. So let us be absolutely clear about what this protocol does. We, as unionists, we as a country in Northern Ireland are held hostage as it currently stands in an economic United Ireland, and let nobody tell you anything different. And it's for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, that I say that we must all join together as a union of unionists to stand against this injustice. The DUP, the TUV, the PUP, the loyal orders and grassroots unionism and loyalism have answered the call and stand firm in unalterable opposition to the protocol. And lest there be any confusion, I want the UUP and their leader Doug Beattie, who's a decorated military veteran and who's deserving of our respect for that aspect of his public service. I want him to join us on these platforms in opposition to the protocol. I want the party of Carson and Craig on these platforms, standing together as a union of unionists. They are a valued part of the unionist family, and to our family they should return. We need unity, not division. We need a clear and united message in opposition to the union subjugating protocol, and there can be no doubt that that message is stronger when the unionist families stand together as one union of unionists. The act of union must be restored, nothing less will do. The DUP, the TUV and the PUP have publicly committed to that in writing. There is no best of both worlds. There cannot be dual UK and EU market access, which places Northern Ireland on an unequal footing, either in a more advantageous or disadvantageous position from the rest of the United Kingdom. The protocol is not here to stay, because no self-respecting unionist will ever allow it to stay. And nor will any self-respecting unionist tolerate such nonsense as suggestions that the Irish Parliament should sit in this part of the United Kingdom. These absolutely foolish propositions deserve scorn, but I do not believe they in fact reflect the decent people of the UUP or unionism in general. So I call on Doug Beattie on this platform tonight to come back to these platforms. You are wanted and you are welcome to stand together with us in unity. We will differ, and we will differ strongly. The two party leaders to my left disagree and differ on many issues. I'm sure they disagree with me on even more. But Jeffrey and Jim and the PUP are standing together to face the greatest constitutional threat that our country has ever encountered. They are setting other differences aside, and I am proud to stand with them. And I am proud to stand with you tonight in Castlederg as a union of unionists. Every person here, from the platform to the participants, is of equal importance and value, and that must be remembered. Every single person who has taken the opportunity to come out here tonight and demonstrate their opposition is every bit as important, every bit as valued as the people on the platform tonight. So at that juncture, I'd like you to give yourselves a round of applause for coming out here tonight and showing your opposition. I would hope that we do all agree on one thing. The union subjugating protocol and the imbalanced imposition of the Belfast Agreement must go. And if it does not go, then there can never again be power sharing or a unionist inclusive executive in Northern Ireland. I need not point out that no self-respecting unionist or loyalist could ever or should ever facilitate or participate in the subjugation of our precious union. So let me set it out very, very clearly. The Belfast Agreement is and always was a deception. The so-called principle of consent, which pro-agreement unionism claimed was the reason for supporting the agreement, has been shown beyond any doubt to be a fundamental lie. And if you don't believe me, go and read the Court of Appeal judgment in the case brought by Mr. Alistair and representatives of all of the other parties. The principle of consent, ladies and gentlemen, does not protect the substance of our union at all. It is merely symbolic. And when it comes to the union, it seems you can change everything but the last thing being the formal, final handover of sovereignty. However, if by the time you get there, the union has in substance been dismantled, then the principle of consent is no safeguard, it's more akin to a chocolate fireguard. And of course, the incremental dismantling of the union takes place piece by virtue of the Belfast Agreement process, or as we hear nationalists would say, the spirit of the Belfast Agreement. I've yet to work out how one summons up this spirit to see what it thinks about various things, but nevertheless, the first principle of the Belfast Agreement is what I call the principle of nationalist interpretation. And what that means is every single ambiguity must be resolved in favour of nationalism. The second is a core ethos that unionism must give and nationalism must get. And given the agreement is a process towards the end of the union, it's obvious to any sensible person there can be no gain for unionism, because that would impede the process itself. So you see, I am not in fact sure that the protocol is in fact inconsistent with the ethos of the Belfast Agreement, because rather, if you believe, as I do, that the Belfast Agreement is really a one-way train to the destruction of the union, then the protocol is in fact entirely consistent with protecting the Belfast Agreement, given it assists that core objective. Of course, the protocol disapplies the core protections of the text of the agreement and its enabling statute, but it only disapplies them for unionists. In short, cross-community consent is a core pillar of this supposed paradigm agreement, unless, of course, unionism wants to apply cross-community consent in a manner that would impede the destruction of the union, and all of a sudden, cross-community consent no longer matters. Put simply, even the clear text of the Belfast Agreement itself must yield to its core objective of wedging Northern Ireland out of the United Kingdom. So really, I tend to believe that far be it from the protocol being inconsistent with the objectives of the Belfast Agreement, it's in fact a logical outworking of its core objective. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I describe the protocol and the Belfast Agreement as a double-knottedness around the neck of the union. I absolutely stand with that 110%, because that is exactly what it is. And there's some who cling to the Belfast Agreement like sycophantic puppies, unable to accept they've been deceived. Pro-agreement unionism were fooled on the principle of consent in 1998. That cannot even be credibly in dispute. And to the credit of many, some of them key supporters of the 1998 agreement, they have now disavowed it. However, others, a minority it must be said, are unable to accept the exposure of that deception, and rather than joining us as a union of unionists in saying enough is enough, instead they say we have been fooled once, but please fool us twice. The Belfast Agreement in relation to unionism is an abusive relationship, the most serious incident being the imposition of this union subjugating protocol. Only a fool, ladies and gentlemen, would remain wedded or supportive of the Belfast Agreement. And that is why the DUP, the TUV, who to their credit have always opposed mandatory coalition, and the PUP have all set out very clearly that the Belfast Agreement in its present form is unworkable and unacceptable. Any power-sharing solution requires fundamental and far-reaching changes to the framework of the Belfast Agreement. Fixing the protocol without fixing the fundamental imbalance in the Belfast Agreement would not, in my view, be a sufficient basis for the formation of an executive, and I hope that all unionist party leaders, or at least those who continue in ultimate opposition to the protocol, agree with that viewpoint. And in equal terms, ladies and gentlemen, the complete disbandment of the provisional IRA was supposedly a precondition to the 1998 agreement. The most recent security assessment by the PSNI and MI5 makes clear that the IRA, a prescribed terrorist organisation continue to control and elect Sinn Féin. It seems to me obvious, therefore, that complete, verifiable disbandment of the IRA and all their structures should also be a precondition for the formation of any executive. And this week, we heard in the media that some dissident Republican delinquents, a bunch of thugs, criminals, drug dealers and informants, who even the IRA viewed as an underclass, well, given the moral bankruptcy of Sinn Féin and the IRA, that's saying something, purported to issue threats to members of the unionist and loyalist community. And my first thought when I seen the image was they should probably be careful they didn't shoot themselves in the foot, but after that, my second thought was that of two-tier policing. While as loyalists and bandsmen and women are hounded and harassed for peaceful protest, dissident terrorists can stage an armed show strength with automatic weapons in Belfast without a PSNI officer in sight. Another legacy, ladies and gentlemen, which I'm sure you will appreciate in Castlederg, was the shameful treatment of the RUC, replaced by the PSNI, which operates within the Belfast Agreement framework, hence what I feel is an inherently pro-nationalist bias. But that's a matter for a different day. Returning to these dissident Republican delinquents, the unionist and loyalist community, especially in places like Castlederg, could not be silenced by a 30-year terrorist campaign by the IRA, with all their weapons and their international terrorist support. We most certainly will not be silenced by a gang of criminals and thugs who even the IRA have disowned. If dissident Republicans wish to start attacking the unionist and loyalist community, then that represents a significant development which would not be without consequence. The onus is on the security forces to deal with such threats to peace and stability and to do so swiftly. These people, of course, have been emboldened and encouraged by the fact that the threat of nationalist civil disobedience, and let me remind you, because we're always good at hearing the SPLP forever criticising Jeffrey Donaldson and all the unionists, let me tell you what the SPLP's Claire Hannah had to say for herself whenever it came to talking up the threat of nationalist violence. She said, should there be so much as a CCTV camera on the land border, there would be civil disobedience at a very, very minimum. So either I or anybody else will be taking any lectures of Claire Hannah or the SPLP. And of course, the Irish government went to the European Union and talked up the threats of IRA bombs for political leverage, which led directly to the imposition of this union subjugating protocol. And that is the legacy of this wicked, iniquitous, violent, rewarding union subjugating protocol, and that is just another reason why it must go. So as we come to a close, ladies and gentlemen, and as we stand here tonight as a union of unionists, let our message be strong and let it be clear. The act of union is the union, so the act of union must be restored. The Belfast Agreement is a deception, a fraud, and is abusive of the unionist community and our constitutional position. Most of those who were fooled once will not be fooled twice. No more will unionism give, so nationalism can get. After 24 years of this one-sided process, we have given enough and we will give no more. Therefore, our closing resounding message from Castlederg is clear. The union subjugating protocol must go, full stop. No equivocation, no compromise, and in the immortal words of the apprentice boys of Derry, no surrender. So let our message... ladies and gentlemen, echo from Castlederg tonight. Let it carry across the streets and fields of Ulster. We are a union of unionists, and we say, enough is